Captain's Log, Episode 58. This week's episode of the Beer Vengers podcast is sponsored by the Beer and Cheese Collective, located at 35-11 Ditmars Boulevard in Astoria, Queens, now open 7 days a week. More in the mood for wine than beer? They've got you covered with their new wine list, complete with cheese pairings. Enjoy the eclectic array of craft beer, artisanal cheeses, and specialty grocery items at the Beer and Cheese Collective. New name, same great place. This week, Captain of the Beer Wonder, welcome back special guest Beer Venger Globe Hopper. This show features beer pours, information, fun stories, and the usual. If you listened before, you know what to expect. You won't be disappointed. If you're new, you won't know if you're disappointed unless you listen. Take an hour to figure it out. Remember to like, star, and subscribe whenever that feels appropriate. And send us your emails at thebeervengers@gmail.com if you have any questions, suggestions, or if you just like hearing us talk about you on the show. And now, without further ado, please enjoy episode 58, A Darker Shade of Pale.
Well, we're the Beer Vengers, Beer Vengers, Beer Vengers.
We're the Beer Vengers.
Welcome to the Beercast, everyone. Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Astoria, Queens, I am Captain Porter Brown Stout.
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in the County of Kings, it is I, the Beer Wonder!
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in the borough of Brooklyn, it is I, the Globe Hopper.
And we are...
The
Beer Smooth, fellas. Very nice.
Yeah.
That's right. We are the Beer Vengers. That was good. I really like the way we
one.
came in for that landing, too.
Pretty sexy. I liked it.
that-
Big fan. The Globe Hopper arriving for a landing.
I ran out of breath, I'll be honest.
Oh, well.
It's all right.
Yeah, you sort of like... Anyway, welcome to the Beercast, everyone. So happy to have you here. We've been gone for a little while. We may... Who knows? We're on this haphazard schedule, and thank all of you for coming along with us whenever we show up at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning, and there we are in your... If you're subscribing.
Perfect drinking time. 9 a.m. on a Monday morning. That is when you start for the week. Am I right?
Absolutely. I mean,
Or
yeah,
finish from the weekend.
Well,
There
true.
you go. It's little hair of the dog and all that. As you noticed, we have one of our recurring special guests back, special guest Beer Venger, the Globe Hopper. Welcome back, Globe Hopper.
Thank you. It's good to be back, as always.
Just hopping on by. By like you do.
Yeah.
So, coming to you here in right around tax time, 2022. I managed to get mine done pretty recently. Kind of a wash for me, which is better than owing. But in the meantime, had a few beer experiences, as we like to call them here on the Beercast. We'll also find out what Globe Hopper's been up to and what we've been up to. But before we get to any of that, gentlemen, get to the pours, right?
Naturally.
Of course.
Yeah, let's get to the pours.
Mhm.
And
I would say we should hop to it, shouldn't we?
we should. Very clever. Yes. Let's skip the theater of who goes first and go right to the puns. Absolutely. Globe Hopper, I think that's your cue.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll just hop right on over and grab that.
Well, there you go.
There's going to be a lot of hopping.
Well,
on
we're
this
also
one.
if you're listening to this, it's just past Easter, so
Right. Exactly.
That is, unless you're Orthodox.
That's true.
Yeah. So I got a really fun one. It is the smoked Lichtenheiner Weiss from Freigeist. Thank you. Oh, thank you. It is the Abraxas from Freigeist.
Very good.
So I don't know if you've ever had one, but
No, this is fascinating.
Where is Freigeist?
So Freigeist is German. However, this one is brewed in the United States, so they contract in St. Louis.
Oh, very good.
They're contracted through the Urban Chestnut Brewing Company.
Excellent.
So yeah,
it's interesting because my other association with Abraxas is Perennial. has an
Exactly.
Abraxas,
Yep.
which is also out of St. Louis.
Right. Yeah. So maybe it's the same contractor. But let's see what this.
Beautiful crack there.
Excellent.
And got.
Oh, and a perfectly a Stein for a good German
Stein.
beer,
Yeah.
as it should be.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Good amber color there.
Yeah.
Not getting a
No.
ton of head.
Not really. No.
No. Okay.
Hardly. Very little.
Yeah,
head
almost
at
none.
all.
Yeah.
Almost
Yeah, hold
none. But it is.
Yeah, hold up that can next to it, so let's
Oh,
get a
yeah,
good
yeah.
look at both of them
Gotcha.
together.
There you
Ooh.
go.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful indeed.
Ooh. Smells good.
Excellent. Well, I out of politeness, I'm not sure which one of us should go next.
I know this is going to be a standoff, isn't it? Well, why don't we let
all right.
why don't we let our the Globe Hopper choose?
Oh, I mean it's a 50-50.
Oh, such power.
Captain. How about let's see.
Sure. All
Why
right.
not?
Well, I was almost gonna go to Beer Wonder because he sounds a little dry right now. But all right, let's. I will. To no one's to the surprise of no one. Is that how you say? I screwed up. That you always say it. To the surprise of no one. I think it's. I have here with me a.
Sponsored pour.
That's right. I have a sponsored pour from our sponsor, the Beer and Cheese Collective, at 35-11 Ditmars Boulevard in Astoria, Queens. Now open 7
Shocking.
days a week. Yes, I know. It's
Shocking.
crazy. But what I have, and it was curious, I was talking to Globehopper before we started, and he's going to actually have some more information about this brewery than I do because
Ooh.
they're really hard to find on the internet. For those of you who are fans of your Girl Scout cookies, this is Decadent Ales Samoa.
Ooh.
And yes, they don't call it Samoan because I think that might be a copyright infringement, so they just call it Samoa.
Okay.
And it is caramel coconut cookie flavored, so I think we can pretty much assume there's a connection between those two. This is an imperial pastry stout. They don't call it a pastry stout, but if it's a caramel coconut cookie, it's a pastry stout, in my humble opinion. And it's 11.8% ABV,
Ooh.
so very healthy. Let's see what we have here.
We are actually recording at happy hour time, so it's a great time
We
for
are.
11% beer.
All right, there we go.
Well, it's motor oil, I'll say that much. It is pouring
It
so
is.
thick. And, I mean, it's just, you can barely see through with that thing. It's literally kind of, the captain is disappearing before our eyes.
Yes. As is
Although
the
the-
logo.
That's true. And the head is just very, very very small.
It's there. It's there.
Barely, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, very nice.
All right. Well, now, Beer Wonder, you can't postpone this any longer. What pour do you have?
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. This is going to surprise everyone because I also have a
Sponsored pour.
Another sponsored pour from the Beer and Cheese Collective. Wonderful.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
I know, shocking.
I
Well, this is from
I almost dead named them. Sorry, Rick.
I know. Don't do that. Don't do it. That's rude. So this is from a little brewery out of Chicago called Off Color Brewing.
Oh, very good.
And look at this. It's got this adorable can. The can art is pretty epic. It's a bunch of mice that are in front of a little classroom there, and they're
Oh, that's
counting
adorable.
up to they're adding up numbers, and they're getting to it's like 100,000 or 1,000,000 or 10 million or something like that. But the beer is called Kilo Beer, and this is a grisette style beer, mixed fermentation with 2 classic farmhouse yeast strains. There's a lot happening here. It's from their secret batch number 1000, which is a whole series that they were doing. So I am excited about this one. It's been a minute since I've had a Chicago beer, but I've always enjoyed what I've gotten from there. So let's see how this one turned out.
Lovely crack.
Lovely crack.
It's a
as
very
always.
sexy crack. Yeah. All right, here we go.
Oh, that's nice.
It's pretty, right?
Yeah.
Really, it's got heavy carbonation, big bubbles here, and you can see really cascading right up to the top, but then popping really fast. So this head is not going to stick around for lunchtime. But
Very good.
but very pretty,
All right.
very silvery. Get that can art in there because it's so cute.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
All right.
All right. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm. Oh, that's very nice.
Mmm. Ooh, tasty.
Thick and rich. Yeah, I think the only other ones I've had from Off Color, well, probably not the only ones, but the ones that immediately come to mind are all their variations on the Dino S'mores.
Right. Yep. No, they're of course putting out really good stuff, but this is a part of a series that they were doing around sour beers, and this one was really fun. Their secret batch number 1000 was called 2 Classic Farmhouse Yeast Strains Duking It Out, and so I guess you have to decide which of the two that you thought did better. But grisettes are sort of one that I find are a little bit hard to come by. I remember when the Globe Hopper and I started doing all of these mysterious tours in New York City, and a grisette showed up for the first time on the tour. I forget who it was, but it was sort of a rare one that we were having to hand out to folks because people were often surprised by it.
Was that Big Alice? I
think it was Big Alice. Mm-hmm.
Because I also had one of theirs. They did a barrel aged version of one of their grisettes. Mm-hmm. I think it was called Little Grace. That might be a hookup later on. A hookup, but I believe it was. And it was, I mean, it's lovely, but very floral on the front and just good little tartness to it. But yeah, you don't get enough grisettes,
no,
in my opinion. I
mean, it's really classic farmhouse. It's very like, we're drinking. And of course, it's French, which is the thing that we can't forget because who likes French beers? But what's cool about this is they're using 2 different classic farmhouse yeast strains. They don't tell us which one, but there's a lot happening in here. It's got Pilsner, malt, flaked wheat, Vienna, and flaked barley, and 3 different kinds of hops. So it's packing a punch, and you really do get that nice floralness, a really good sweetness, and it's a very gentle tartness. It's not sort of the hit that you'd expect from a lot of sour beers, so this one goes down nice and easy, and probably a little too easy for what I believe is a 6% beer. So, and a pretty amber color, too, that I kind of love, right?
Excellent.
Could paint
like
your walls
too.
with this.
So what
nice.
tell us more about that German beer you have there, Globe Hopper.
Yes, I forgot to say what the percentage was on this one as well. It is also 6%.
All right.
So it is so I don't know if you've ever heard of a smoked Lichtenheiner Weiss ale.
Mm-mm.
So Lichtenheiner is a very old German style that is technically think of it as a smoked Berliner Weiss.
Okay.
So you get the sourness of the Berliner,
yep,
but it's using smoked malts with it as well. So they traditionally don't have to have wheat, even though it is a Weiss. But it usually now does have wheat in with the barley. It is lovely. So even though there's no head, it is bubbling. The nucleation is like happening. It's bubbling like crazy. It hasn't stopped bubbling. Wow. But there's literally no head on it at all.
Yeah, which is
surprising.
Which was really surprising to see. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can if you look into it, it's just continuing. It's very active beer, but you definitely get the smoke on it, just like you would as like a smoked Helles. So it'd be that same nose, but then when you sip it, it's a Berliner Weiss. Okay. So it's lovely. It's just lovely.
Very good.
But it is inspired by the Eastern German tart wheat beer style, once known as the Lichtenheiner. Abraxas is a sour, and it's a complex beer with a balancing smoky maltiness.
Oh, right. Well, the fact that we're pulling sours definitely seems to be a vote that we're headed towards springtime, right? Yeah.
Where I'm very firmly entrenched in my it's always stout season mode here with this beer I have.
Captain, I would argue that if it's Girl Scout themed, that is a sign of spring as well, all right?
I'll give you that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is a Girl Scout cookie that I grew up with. I didn't find out until a few years back because I'm not really a Girl Scout cookie-ophile so much, but I grew up in Ohio. As I've discussed before here, we're all from all over places that are, even though we've been in New York for a while. But I realized that my friends who grew up in different states may have had entirely different experiences with the names of the Girl Scout cookies, because the Girl Scout cookies have 2 separate bakeries primarily, and different ones name the same version of the same cookie different things. Oh. So what I grew up with as the Samoan, some people got as the Caramel Delights.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Actually,
it's
that I think
essentially
Upper Midwest. I think we were Caramel Delights, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
yeah.
Yeah.
Although, from what I understand, I was trying to do a little bit of a deep dive into all this. Is that it's not even necessarily what region, as much as what your local Girl Scout Council, which bakery they choose to order from.
Oh, okay.
Because they're
Interesting.
basically, like I said, they're basically two different ones. Like, for instance, another one was like, I think Savannah's, which are the like peanut butter sandwich cookies, or in some places just called like peanut butter sandwich or something like that.
Yeah.
But I do remember Samoa's. I also wondered if they were even using the term Samoan anymore, because I didn't know if that had maybe fallen under the rubric of cultural appropriation.
I can
But
see
I
that.
believe Samoas are still being used. And boy, this is a really good beer. This is just it's that caramel coconut and that chocolate flavor. It's like it's thick and rich, but not overly sweet. And I'm just really enjoying this one a lot. This is actually the second beer that I've seen at the Beer and Cheese Collective lately from Decadent in this also all in the Imperial Stout style. I can't remember the name of the other one, but it made me realize I've seen Decadent for a while, and I wanted to try and find out a little bit more about them. And there's really the only information on their website is about how to order it.
Of
And I
course.
tried to do a little bit of like, okay, what about news stories? I was able to find a couple of fluff pieces in like the Westchester magazine or something, because that's basic. Oh, I should say this is. I had assumed because I'm not from this area, even though I've been here for 20 odd years, that I looked at the can. I said, "Oh, it's Mamaroneck," and I think, based on what I saw on the weather last night, it's Mamaroneck. Wait a minute. We were with this every time you say it, nothing sounds natural. Once you experience with, Mamaroneck. Mamaroneck.
Mamaroneck, if I'm not mistaken.
Mamaroneck.
Mamaroneck is how I've heard it said.
But yeah, it's
Now
in
that
Westchester
is from
County.
the theater, so it may have been done with a specific dialect, but Mamaroneck is what I've heard it pronounced. Yes.
Mamaroneck.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And I think the more of these beers you have, the strange your pronunciation might become. But yeah, but it's
Probably
a
true.
really good brewery. The other one I had is, in addition to this one, this is the first time I've actually tasted this one. I'm doing this one. I will often do a pre-taste, but this one, this is a great one that Ryan gave me the other day. And yeah, the Decadent Ales, they apparently they've only had a permanent space for a couple of years, maybe 3 years, maybe since 2019, and they operate out of Halftime Beverages in Mamaroneck. And I didn't realize. I'd heard of the name. I'd seen ads for them as far as getting delivery from them. But Globehopper, you were telling me you know a little bit more about what Halftime is, what they do, what their situation is.
Yeah, so I've actually been to their store. It is a giant former grocery store turned into beer store. So
cool.
imagine going into a food town, but it's all beer.
That sounds amazing.
It is
That sounds great.
fantastic.
Road
Transcendent.
trip.
Oh yeah, and it's right off the road, super easy to get to, plenty of parking. And when you go into a beer store that has grocery carts, then you know it's a good place.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So it's good. But yeah, they pretty much they have a lot of local beer, but they also get international beer. So obviously I was drawn there. But they have entire rows of separated by IPAs, sours, and it's just shelf after shelf after shelf after shelf. And you can spend hours in there just looking at beer, which is kind of cool.
Well, I guess when you're the size of a grocery store, you have room to have a whole brewery in there on your own because that's the deal. Is that Decadent operates directly out of Halftime Beverages.
Yeah.
That's where their facility is.
Yeah, and they also have, so obviously they have Decadent, but they also do growlers to go. So you can come in and they have beer on tap and everything. So it's just a great place. They did some remodeling from the flooding we had last year because they got,
Right.
they're on the bottom of a hill and it's dug out. And so they had about 3 feet of water in their
Was that from that
store.
one day where everyone knew like, oh, I think it's supposed to rain later, and all of a sudden everyone was underwater?
Yeah,
Yep.
yep, that's the one. So they obviously have rebuilt. They're all good now. But they ship their beer, so they also do local and some around the country. Obviously, it depends your state because we know the fun laws with that.
Of course.
But
Where we're lucky to be in New York for that reason.
But yeah, no, they are great places, and you can get pretty much any type of beer you want there. I actually went there because they used to carry this beer that I'm drinking, but because it's a German beer, it only comes to the United States, even though it is contract brewed here. It only comes like once every couple years, so it is a rare beer to get, which is fun. But
For sure.
It is fascinating to me the more I learn about contract brewing and how like even something that is, only a few hundred miles away, even in Canada, that sometimes even the stuff from the Canadian breweries is contract brewed here.
Yeah,
just because it's easier for them to rent space here than to pay the import taxes.
Oh yeah,
and pass that on to
sense.
us.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of laws, we had sort of a fun happening in our home state of New York. Suddenly, a law that I think a lot of us were big fans of came back, and it seems to be semi-permanent. Gentlemen, do you know what I'm speaking of?
Well, we've certainly talked about it a lot on the Beercast, so I think if to any of our regular listeners, you'll know exactly what Beer Wonder is talking about, and that is the policy that is ever evolving regarding to-go cocktails.
Now, Globehopper, did you indulge in to-go cocktails at the earlier part of this pandemic? Was that something that...
Of course.
Of course.
I don't have a lot of bars in my direct vicinity, but there's enough a few blocks away that definitely would go on summer walks when it was nice, and then go grab a cocktail, and then walk around and enjoy a cocktail. Whether you're supposed to or not, but I was.
Well, who really is keeping track at that point? But for me, the big issue was, you remember the Cuomo chips?
Yeah.
Where you had to like get a bag of chips, or you had to
they've adjusted that significantly, haven't they?
Yeah. So what's going on with this like new to-go cocktail situation, Captain?
Well, what I read, and you probably read some of the same articles that I did, is that they are, well, first of all, it's still being considered experimental. So it's like it's another. They basically added another trial period onto the previous trial periods we've been doing. So Is it 2-3 years? Does that sound right? I can't remember what
right.
it. But a couple years. And one of the rules is that you can't sell someone a whole bottle of wine.
Well, that's because the liquor lobby is afraid that.
Of course, it's all driven by there. It wouldn't even be an issue if it weren't for the liquor lobby. I mean, it's crazy that you can buy a bottle of wine in a restaurant, but you can't buy a bottle of wine to go. I can understand why they wouldn't want someone buying a whole liter of whiskey. I can see that the liquor lobby would be threatened by that, but a bottle of wine seems to be another matter. But they're very, very concerned about who can sell a bottle of wine, and they only want to be the only ones. But they are allowing people to sell glasses, etc., and cocktails. But this is, I think, what you were talking about. It has to be accompanied by a substantial food purchase, which I think, which is just so nebulous on its face.
We got more guidance. I also thoroughly enjoy when the state government is having big important press conferences. And they're like, so what is substantial food? And they're like, chicken wings are substantial. Soup is substantial. Salad and sandwiches are substantial. Okay. But chips are not. And I was like, this is weird.
And I would imagine either the American or British version of chips probably fall into that same category. Or would they? So
perhaps. Fries
would
versus
fries?
crisps?
So I guess fries, if they're accompanied by fish, is probably substantial.
But here's the question: if it's nachos,
is
that substantial? Because that's still.
Well, I mean, if it is, then cheese fries should be substantial.
I was thinking the exact same thing. If you put cheese on it, now it's an entree, right?
Definitely, if disco fries, if anyone is still selling those, yeah.
Nobody's selling those.
Well, you joke, but there was do you know what I'm talking about?
I have had disco fries.
It's like cheese and gravy and such.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you may say
it's
nobody's
poutine.
selling those.
It's American poutine.
Okay, poutine should be substantial. There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's like it was like so is it a matter of like so carbohydrates in and of themselves maybe not, but carbohydrates plus protein equals substantial? Is that what we're saying?
So hot dog is okay?
Well, I would assume yeah. So that's the funny thing though. A single hot dog is a single hot dog substantial, or does it have to be accompanied by a side?
Chili dog?
This is
See, I don't know.
And if you put the chili on the hot dog, then it's two things, and now it's substantial.
I think we're just agreeing that if you put cheese on anything, now it's substantial.
If you add cheese, it's a meal. Correct.
It's a meal.
The Beer Avengers have decreed it. It is done.
right. There we go. So
I'm down with that. Well, I'm excited for when this all takes effect. I remember at Randolph, a place that actually all of us have been. But as they were sort of reopening, I was frequently grabbing to-go cocktails from there, or to-go beers from there as well, and enjoying them in the park near here. And it was great. It was wonderful. So I'm excited for that to eventually come back, fingers crossed, because it's, Gotham, is much better when you have a drink in hand, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Globehopper, you were telling me earlier a little bit about how you are in the throes of Cicerone training.
Ooh. Yes. So I actually already, since our last visit, I have actually passed the beer server certified. I'm going to start this back over because it's a mouthful. I am officially a...
Sure, we'll edit that out.
I am officially a Cicerone certified beer server. There you go.
There you go. And
so that is it's a lot of studying. So it is, the test itself is, I forget, I think it's like 70 questions or something. I don't remember how many questions, but it doesn't take very long. But the problem is you don't know what they're going to ask, and they rotate the test periodically every couple years. So you can do study guides, you can do study test, but it's not like a driver's test where it's going to be the same every year. But it's similar as like a driver's test. At least this is how it was in the Midwest, where they have like 4 or 5 of them and they cycle them through.
Sure.
So with that, it's highly suggested to read Tasting Beer. I don't know if you guys have read that book.
I have not read it, but I have had it regularly recommended to me.
It is a big book. It's a big book. I did audio version of it.
Smart.
Which I would suggest and also not suggest because there's a lot of graphs in it and breaking down of the Plato degree and the Levibond of all of the beers. Mm-hmm. But they read it in a way that doesn't... It's hard to do it audibly without having the visuals of the breakdown of the recipes. So that's where it can get a little confusing. But yeah, you basically have to learn and cover beer history, styles, be able to declare colors, levibonds, alcohol content, glassware, keg and tap lines, and serving basically everything you would need to serve beer and serve it properly. So it's a lot of fun. I highly suggest it. But that is where I came across this beer because it is in the historical beer section of the of not only the book but of the actual BJCP. So it is. That's where this style isn't commonly brewed anymore, similar to like a Goza or a lot of other Weiss beers. It would actually be in that historical style. So I came across it and I was like, I smoked Berliner Weiss. I mean, come on, I have to try this beer. And it's been a journey. Since our last visit till now, I just found it like 3 days ago. So,
wow.
Yeah. So
you just found the book the beer.
The
beer itself. Okay.
It's been
this beer.
This beer. It's been quite some time.
You have a knack for finding interesting beers. So when you are on the hunt for something, where are you looking?
So I do a few different things. Because you can just Google it and try and go to the brewery itself and see if you can then find if they have find our beer.
Right.
This is from a German brewery. I don't speak German, even though it's in my heritage.
It's a little trickier.
It's a little trickier to find your beer when you don't speak German, and I'm not sure what I'm clicking on, and it's a little scary. But otherwise, I will kind of rotate back and forth between Untapped, because you can find a beer and then hit, like once you look it up, you can then hit find near me, and it'll give you a radius within your local vicinity, and you can change that. And it'll tell you bottle shops, bars, restaurants, and you can find it. And it tells you the date of when it was last posted. So you can actually see if it's up to date or not.
Do you ever look at beer menus?
I do beer menus as well. So I will.
Beer menus I find is less reliable than it used to be because that's all of these apps are based on how the vendors are participating.
Yes.
So and people seem to be getting away from beer menus. So find your beer. I haven't used that one at all. So
yeah. So Untapped is great with that, but again, it's the same one that if the vendor doesn't update it, you're kind of out of luck. The
way Untapped works, as opposed to how beer menus works, is that even if someone isn't going to be even if someone isn't giving Untapped money, there are a lot of people. If they're not a official Untapped site, people are still logging in beers and saying they had them there. So you can still get information on Untapped, even if the vendor isn't participating.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can do a lot of investigative research, as I like to call it, of going through the pictures, of seeing where people are logging it in. And then if you find they're getting it from this place near me, now I can go to that site and I can look it up. I do beer menus as well. There is a bottle shop I've started frequently more often, and it is the Beer Witch, and their menu is exclusively on beer menu. And they do update it weekly. So theirs is actually up to date. And then otherwise, if I can't find it on any of those, Instagram. And I just look it up. So
the gram is always good.
It's a lot of work to find a specific rare historical beer, but as I can tell you, it is definitely worth it. So
well, I mean, I'm very impressed because I think that I feel like looking for beer is in some ways like trying to find a movie you want to watch on a streaming service. Is because unfortunately, since there's so much content out there, to extend the metaphor, for movies and for beers, it's not hard to find something that you want to watch or drink. Mm-hmm. What is out there? And I will pick from what is out there. But if you're looking for something specific, it's always more challenging. Because it's always the movie that you think, I really want to watch this movie, and it's the one thing that, you have to go through paywall to get that, even though you're subscribing to 7 different services. Is the analogy still holding?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that makes perfect sense. Yes.
That works.
Yes. Although with beer, you have to pay for it every time.
Well, you're paying for it every time. Right. Yeah. Yes, you're right. The pay thing breaks down.
Yes.
With I guess the difference in beer is how much you might have to travel to find it, as opposed to whether you can just press a button. Yeah.
Which was the main reason that I came across Halftime to begin with, because they were listed as having this beer. And then they stopped carrying it because they had to deal with a German distributor and with the
did you have that?
years,
Did you have that mailed to you from Halftime?
No, I went on a trek up there.
Well, you have a car, don't you?
I normally don't, but I did at that time.
Okay.
I was using one for work, but my Clark Kent job, as we say.
Yes, the Clark Kent job, very important.
It was close enough, yeah.
Yeah, but this one was the train. This was a long journey up all the way to 96th Street.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, Hopper, I admire your commitment to the beer venging cause.
Cool.
Always. Well, gentlemen, I have some bad news.
What's that?
I'm dry.
Oh,
And this never happens.
I'm almost dry.
We can make this dry. It's fine.
What do you know? I am
think
too.
so. Yeah, I know it, but this never happens. And
we're only like 34 minutes in.
I know it's really embarrassing.
I guess this is time for a. Should we all have second pours?
Sure.
Wow, this has never happened all at the same time, but
this is
maybe
really
once,
embarrassing.
But we'll talk about that in a moment. But all right, yeah, let's go get another beer, and we'll meet you back here. You'll either hear a long pause, or maybe we'll put in some hold music, or maybe you'll just have an abrupt cut, like you're on the show Severance, and you've just left work and you're coming back. If anyone's seen that, you'll know what I mean. If not, it's a fun show. Fun is not the right word. All right, anyway, let's go get another beer. So everyone got their beers?
Yeah.
Yeah,
excellent.
Absolutely.
Well, should we go by the same usual protocol, or should we reverse it from before? Or you're the arbiter of good taste here, Beer Wonder.
Well, here's the thing. I think on the count of 3, we should all show off our beers, and we could even describe what our beer bottles look like.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or cans, whatever you've got. Ready? Here we go.
All
One,
right.
2, and 3. Well,
all right. Since it's an audio podcast, none of you can see that we are all holding bottles that...
This is
wait a minute.
Really embarrassing, guys. Did we all just pick the same beer?
Well, it's hard to tell because none of them have labels, but I mean, without labels, all beers look the same, right?
Yeah, but it's like everybody's got these brown tall bottles
with a little stopper on top.
Yep, swing tops on the top. They're all I think we all have the exact same. So let me ask, Captain, where did you get your beer from?
Well, I got it from one of the other beer vendors. Gave it to me as a gift, and I actually think it might have been one of you.
Yeah, well, see, I also got mine from a fellow beer venger. It was passed off to me as a gift, and I think that beer venger might be in this.
I got mine from a fellow beer venger as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, who was your beer venger, or who was your beer venger, Captain?
Well, it was the Globe Hopper.
Okay.
That's
well, my beer venger was the Globe Hopper too.
Yeah, mine was too.
All right, so this is you brewed this beer, didn't you?
I did. Yes, I did.
Yay!
So
Yes.
I guess we all have the same beer. So as we all prepare our pours here, tell us a little bit about what you have.
Yeah, so it is I'm going to call it a dark pale ale.
Okay.
Because it is a little bit richer than your standard pale ale, but still very light and really nice, just easy drinking.
Yeah. I mean,
Mild
it's
bitterness.
real pretty to look at. It's
It
got
sure
this.
is.
It's got this beautiful amber color. I've got excellent head on mine. I've got like a solid maybe 3/4 of an inch or so. With this beautiful color, with really like foamy, really kind of creamy on top. It's a beautiful looking beer right here.
Dark pale, or shall we call it a semi-pale ale?
Ooh, semi-pale. That's nice.
All right. Cheers, beer
Right,
vendors.
well,
Cheers.
cheers. Ooh, it's very floral on the nose. I'm getting a nice sweetness already.
It's interesting how lighting can affect all of this because the Globe Hoppers beer looks. We're all drinking the same beer, but yours looks a little bit lighter than ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely get this like cross between an amber and a pale ale because I'm getting some of the caramel sweetness that I'd expect out of an amber ale, but it's got a bit more of the like hoppy bite that I would want from something like a pale ale.
I'm even getting a little what I think of with like red ales in this one as well.
Yep.
Which is funny.
It's the ultimate.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
Love.
You go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, no, it's the
only
perfect
fun.
combo beer for a Globe Hopper, one who hops all over the place.
Absolutely.
Exactly. You just blend everything together and it comes out, right? That's how how brewing works.
Apparently. Well, now tell us about your brewing adventure. So, how did this new thing come into your life?
Yeah, so this was actually with our one of the other Clark Kent jobs. Actually, and again,
Well, let's just name it. We've actually been naming it more and more. Let's just say
I know we
you got it.
have.
we work for Unboxed Experiences and City
Yes.
Brew Tours, and you got this from Bruvana, right? They're
Yes.
the ones who do
So Bruvana sends this out. So I actually got this as kind of an experiment for City Brew Tours guides to help them brew to get just better at explaining the brewing process. So we got to all brew together. So it was probably about 20 of us all brewing at the same time. Excuse me. That carbonation is really coming up.
It's real. The carbonation's real, yeah.
Yeah. So we about 20 of us brewed from, I think, 10 different cities all at the same time, all online. And it was about 3-hour experience. It's just a lot of fun. And you were doing it with people that we knew, and, you just do it all virtually and slowly add everything in. The reason that this one is a little bit darker is because we were using malt extract. So you do get a little bit more of that kind of molasses kind of richness to it. Versus if you were to use a dry malt extract, this was liquid malt. So it's basically syrup. So that's why it's a
Nothing
little
wrong with
dark.
that.
No. And that's where you get that richness, a little bit of that nuttiness, that caramel on there. And then it's just a single malt, single hop. Well, it's not a single malt. There's some dry malt and the malt extract, but it is a single hop beer.
Very
Citra,
nice.
I believe, if I remember correct.
Yeah,
And
it
tell
does
me-
have a feel of Citra to it. That makes a lot of sense. But it's a really well-crafted beer. And is this your very first brewed beer ever, Globehopper?
Is my first home brew. I have assisted in brewing with our friends over at Keg and Lantern. And we did that was a
California Common, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe, yeah. I was like, was it Kentucky Common or California? Because that was also a time period where I drank way too much. It's a California
Cheers.
Common, yeah. But yeah, this is the first home brew in my house on a large kettle and fermenting it under my kitchen table. So, as one does.
Yeah. Full disclosure, this is not the first time I've had this beer. We'll get into that in just a moment. But I'm also curious. I understand you thought there might have been a little discrepancy between what the kit told you the ABV was likely to be and what you think it might actually be.
Yes. So normally with the kit, it would say it was a normal, I think like 5%, somewhere around 5-6%.
Mhm.
The issue is when I started pouring it into the fermenter, or the fermonster, as we'd say, it was a lot less liquid than was supposed to be.
Okay.
Which means that there's less surface or less liquid for the yeast to eat. So
Sure.
it creates more alcohol. So it's a little bit higher. I don't actually know what the ABV is, but you definitely feel very good after finishing one of these bottles.
Well, it's interesting. Even just starting this bottle immediately after an 11.8, was it 10.8 or 11? I don't remember. Well, here's the funny thing. The last time we did one of these episodes, I had a 17% beer, and by the time we got late into it, here's the only hookup I have from that episode is I think I confused objective and subjective at one point or another. I think I was trying to use the word subjective, and I used the word objective. Thank you for all of our fans out there who didn't correct me on that. We don't quite have the jackals to the degree that Seth Meyers has, who are constantly. Well, hopefully we will eventually have them so we can have a separate correction show like he does. But yeah, this is a very heady brew.
It's very good. I assume that you've had quite a few of them yourself, Globehopper. at home.
Yeah. I think this is my 6th.
Cheers.
And these are 22-ounce bottles, and
Yeah.
I actually was getting this one out and realized that I had another one left, like shoved in the back where I was storing them, and I was like, oh, I get more. It's just a surprise.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Exactly. But I have to finish them because in the next couple of weeks I'm going to start another brew. So I'm still figuring out exactly what that'll entail. But
we'll have to hear about that in a future show, I hope.
I'm
Maybe
sure
share it
you
on a
will.
future show.
Maybe. Yeah. I'm still figuring out which hops, yeast, and malt I want to use because it also depends on what's available. But
Sure.
I'm sure it will be mentioned and tasted in the Beer Vengerverse at some point.
Naturally.
Well, when I mentioned that I tasted this one time before, I think that's the best segue I can have to. We had a pretty amazing, very special Beer Vengers event, not too long ago. Because can we say why we were? I mean, what precipitated it?
I think it's fairly
because
public knowledge.
Hophead Huck, one of the original hosts of this show and who you hear every week singing the songs and occasionally announcing an origin story.
Don't trigger it.
And who we always, sorry, fortunately I didn't.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're on a new website, so it's not quite that sensitive just yet.
Oh, good. Good.
But basically, one of the original and still core Beer Vengers and Cider Girl, who was, I think, the second guest ever on the show, they are going out to establish their own Beer Vengers outpost in California. Is it still technically Southern California where they're going?
Fresno. I don't know.
Okay. I didn't know we were allowed to say the name or not. I didn't know if we wanted to disclose that or not. Sure, they're going to Fresno, which I think is like upper Southern, right? Is it like north of LA?
I don't. I don't do California.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
I don't either.
California's
Really,
so long. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't. It's Southern, but definitely not LA. Which is all I. Man, this is hitting me. But yeah, so they're going there. So they hosted a Beer Vengers get together at their place, and the Globe Hopper brought some of this beer there with him. And we had a wonder. I don't think I've posted the kill wall. We should post that kill wall because we went through quite a lot of wonderful beers that night. Yeah,
yeah. It was. I'm looking at it right now, and I do see Globe Hopper's beer in a place of prominence on the wall, as it should be.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's hard for me to say even any favorites that night because I was enjoying all of them, and I definitely brought some that we didn't quite get to at my get together because we had so many there, and unfortunately Globe Hopper wasn't able to be there, so I brought some. So you were able to, but it was pretty great. It was great seeing everyone. Lots of Beer Vengers there. One of the things that I brought, well, any highlights for you guys? You want to mention?
Well, I had my first Irish car bomb, to keep it real, and I will say, not a fan. Hard pass. Yeah. Not going to do it again. Yeah, no, not high on my list of things. Which does mean that there was a Guinness on the kill wall, which
That's
may
true.
be a first for us.
I don't know. If it is, it's. I mean, I'm not ashamed to have a Guinness on the kill wall. I've mentioned on here before about how I experience Guinnesses differently than I used to, but I still enjoy them.
Yeah. Well, this has been an important part of the Beer Venger sphere, these sort of get-togethers, these like beer hangs that Huck and Cider Girl have hosted. So it was nice to have one final one while they're here in New York City, with a lot of Beer Vengers from near and far. Hopefully it will not be the last.
No, and we're certainly hoping to have both of them on again in the future to like educate us all on the beer scene in Fresno.
Yes,
and other wonderful things about their life.
And Huck will need to do important research there, obviously, and hold down the quality control that Beer Vengers do whenever we travel.
Well, and I should also mention that while we were there, in addition to being beer, of course, you have to soak up the beer if you're all having a big beer tasting. And we had an episode. See, when I talk about these sort of things, I should really go on, look in our archives and see when these ones. Anyway. A while back, we had the Belgian blonde on the show, and she wanted us all to talk about sustainable beers.
Right.
And so I did a big thing about Big Alice and about how they had worked with this bakery in my neighborhood where they like shared some of their spent grain with them. I didn't know the whole story at the time, but I started buying bread from that bakery, and they did it again just a few weeks ago. So the name of the bakery is the Phoenix Bakehouse. And what they essentially did was they have a sourdough starter and I think the sourdough starter identifies as female because she calls herself Edie, or she was named Edie. And they used some of the yeast from the sourdough starter, maybe even some of the bread as well, to create a beer that I was not familiar with before called Kvass. That's Kvass. It's a slightly higher ABV version of the traditional version, but it is made with bread. And so they made this beer and they called it Edie's Big Adventure. And then when they were done making that beer, they gave the spent grain back to the Phoenix Bakehouse, who then made a batch of bread from the spent grain. And I brought some of it. Actually, I brought some of it to you, Beer Wonder.
You did? Yes.
And I got a full loaf for myself, cut it in half, had half a loaf at my place, and brought the other half of the loaf to our party. So it was really fun, not only having this wonderful bread and sharing it together, but bringing that aspect of our show full circle. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a lovely experience. My loaf is still slowly becoming sandwiches and other snacks, and it's well-made bread. It's very delicious.
Oh, you must be defrosting it in chunks if it's lasted that long.
Yes,
because it's really fresh, and if you defrost the whole thing, it wouldn't still be edible by now.
Yeah,
I think.
I quickly cut it up and wrapped them individual things because I knew it was going to take me a while to get through it. So, and it's delicious.
You have your carbs selectively.
I love a good sandwich, man, and if I'm going to do a sandwich, I need good bread with it. So
right, but not too much of it at once.
Exactly, not too much at once.
The other cool thing that I saw there that I hadn't heard about before was the Square Foot Project, because part of it is about sustainable farmland, it's I think it's listed as SQFT project. Anyway, what they do is, and Edie's Big Adventure was one of the beers. What they do is they tell you how much of the beer that you're having, how many acres of farmland or how many square feet of farmland that beer is being used. So like say, if there's a number 4 on there, that means the 12-ounce pour you have, it came from 4 square feet of farmland. Oh, and wow. So this is about the relationship. Well, you were telling me a few more details about it yourself, Globehopper.
Yeah. So I know that especially Big Alice partners with a lot of the barley and the maltsters upstate, which is why they started their additional third brewery up in the Finger Lakes, so they can actually be closer. So they are trying to be as renewable as possible and as limited and using as many local ingredients. They actually currently, I think it's still on tap. I'm not sure. It's their Castle Falls lager. It's just called a New York State lager. The entire beer, all the ingredients came from a 13 square mile radius of the brewery. So the hops, the malts, obviously the water, and the yeast. Because we love our friends over at Big Alice, and they love to help out and give helping hands to everyone near them. So it's all about with the Square Foot and with especially with them, but also our friends over at Strong Rope are doing a lot of the same work as well, which is why they also started their brewery. It's more of a tap room in the I forget where it's at. It's upstate as well, I believe.
Are you talking about
Saranac Lake?
I know Big Alice has one up in the Finger Lakes.
Big Alice is in the Finger Lakes, and I forget. It's also it is up near Buffalo. Because that's where the Jason, he's from in that area.
Yep.
So it is a seasonal tap room / brewery, but they're also doing the same because a lot of hop fields and barley fields are growing up in New York now. They're starting to distribute and work with all these local breweries, so they're doing their tap rooms up there to have the local grains, minimal distance, as fresh as possible, and then they'll bring the beer down here to the city. They actually, I don't know if you guys ever had any of the beers that came on the schooner.
I
think I
remember
did.
heaing about this. I did
Yeah.
not have it though.
I think
Tell
I
us about
did.
it.
I don't know. Was this mentioned on the podcast in the past?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so. No.
So the schooner was a really fun thing. It was very experimental, where so they grab the malt from the fields up north. They then get them on basically a bicycle and a tricycle, and they take them to a sailboat, and they ship them all the way down from the Finger Lakes through the canals, all the way to the basically the ports here in New York, right where the right near Industry City, and then they took a tricycle from there to all the breweries, and so they took it to Five Boroughs, Strong Rope, and Big Alice, and so they were a zero emission delivery of malts.
Very cool.
I believe Malt Overboard was Five Boroughs version. And I forget the names of the others. I'm really
I think I had one of those from Big Alice, and I can't remember the name of it, but I think it was named for the boat, possibly.
yeah.
But yeah, it was the other interesting thing I found out when I was at Big Alice, talking to the brewer for a little while, because I wanted to get an update on what's going on with the farm brewers law, because we talked about that a lot,
Right.
about how it started at a low percentage and it's getting higher. I guess they're at about 60% now. You have to have 60% local product to qualify for the farm brewing law, and we're on the verge within a couple of years of that going up to 90%. But the brewer at Big Alice was telling me that he's on the sort of the board for all of that, and he was saying that they might be pushing on to keep that at 60%, mostly because there's so many breweries that are involved now that seems to be kind of the sweet spot. To where that should have been sort of like, if it actually did go up to 90% at this point, the farmers would have a hard time keeping up with the demand. So, yeah,
Then it's working clearly.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
yeah.
but isn't Big Alice already at if not 100%?
What he told me was that the New York City locations are at 100%, and the one in the Finger Lakes is a little below. I'm not sure. He didn't give me a number for that, but he said that the New York City ones are 100%.
Yeah.
And I know
That tracks
Strong
with
Rope is also 100%.
Yeah, I think the idea was that to keep as many people in the mix as possible. Yeah, it wasn't about them not committing to it. It was more about how to keep as many people and be able to meet the demand and supply where it needs to be. That 60% seemed to be a good place for that to happen. As far as for a minimum, doesn't mean obviously it's not a maximum, but for a minimum, 60% seemed to be best.
That's impressive. I mean, I'm glad that people are still following that and that it has been such a boon. I wondered if they were going to push it because of COVID, but I would imagine that local ingredients were actually something you really wanted, with supply chain issues, that it would make it really enticing to become a New York State farm brewery.
Right,
So,
and farming is pretty socially distanced to begin with.
That's very true.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, I've never farmed.
Yes.
I don't know if the way it's portrayed in movies and television is, but generally speaking, it seems like there's not a whole lot of people, and there's a lot of like doing stuff off on your own.
Yeah.
If there are any farmers out there in our Beer Vengerverse, Beer Venger sphere, Beer Venger, whatever suffix you want to add to it, to correct me about farming, please reach out to us at any of our various ways. As you know, we're on all the social medias on @the Beer Vengers. And that is on Instagram, that's on Facebook, that's on Twitter. You can email us at thebeervengers@gmail.com. Am I leaving anything out here, Beer Wonder?
No, those are the big ones. I was going to say, we're not
those are
on
the big
TikTok yet, but, we're not that cool.
No.
I couldn't do some sort of dance challenge with a pint, or even Globe Popper's excellent beer. I'm not ready for the dance options yet.
Is there a maximum length to a TikTok?
I think it's 3 minutes, although they are looking at bringing them up to 10. And honestly, 10 minutes, I'm done at 10 minutes.
So I wonder if there would be a thing where you could just go on TikTok and just drink a beer and have that be the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there was an episode of Twin Peaks where, like, I want to say that there was someone sweeping the floor for like 7 minutes. I think if I could just I think we had a Beer Vengers TikTok where we're just like, that's a good beer.
Does it take you 10 minutes to drink a beer, Captain?
Well, again, I think I could manage it in the 6-minute thing. I feel
Okay.
like sometimes I might actually. It doesn't have to take me 10 minutes to drink a beer, but there's some beers I want to take 10 minutes to drink.
That's fair.
It's but that's that. One more thing I want to make sure to mention here before we move on and send you off with Huck's dulcet tones is something really exciting happened this week. Is that we talked a little bit before about we mentioned the company we work for and all the various names there. Bruvana, what they do, we back when we had Molly, aka, she's had a couple different names. What's her name now?
Dunkle
we
Dame?
had the Dunkle
Dame was the last one I think
Hazy
we
Lady.
had. Hazy
But
Lady.
yeah, so
I don't
she
know where
basically-
she landed.
We met her at the company we work for, and she was doing a thing called Brews Less Traveled, hosting that show. She has since moved on, and actually, we're probably going to be checking in with her again soon. She's
got a very cool project
She
in the
keeps
works.
telling us she's going to mail us some beer from the brewery she's working from, and when she finally does that, she will be back on the show, and we will all have that beer together. But I've been a co-host of the show where we talk about the various beers every month. Beer Wonder has. In fact, it's the only podcast you can go to find out our actual identities because we use our real names there. And just this week, Beer Wonder and I were asked to be the hosts for the month of May. I don't think we're allowed to say the name of the cities yet, are we?
No, it's still under wraps.
It's top
still under
secret,
wraps.
but there is a reason why they wanted 2 hosts.
Yes.
They wanted 2 hosts, and they said, well, let's get the Beer Vengers to host this. And let me see
co-host.
here.
Let's be clear. We're co-hosting. Yes.
We are co-hosting. We're
Yeah.
we're dual co-hosts because Brian
exactly.
is still the host, and so
Exactly,
we are.
yes.
He wanted to have 2 co-hosts for a specific reason this month, which you will find out about if before May 20th you go. I'm sorry, before April 20th if you go
April 20th.
to Brews. Yeah, April 20th if you go before that date because this is coming out at 16th. It's 18th. You might be listening to this the 18th or 19th, so you'll still have time. So if you go to brewvana.com and order a Brews Less Traveled project, you will get beers for the month of May. You will be able to hear Beer Wonder and myself and Brian all talk about these beers with the brewers. And I'm really excited about doing that because I had so much
gonna be a
fun
good
doing
time.
it the last month I did it. I think we're going to have Brian on again. Brian on again. We've never had Brian on. We're going to have Brian on soon to talk about all of that. And this is a good beer, Jonathan. Globehopper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how good it is.
I don't know who
That's
that
how
is.
good it is.
That's
we
my
do.
roommate. He was
Yeah.
he was
Exactly.
just in. He just popped in.
I'm
That's
sorry.
why.
Yeah, you look so much alike.
He just
that's-
hopped on by, didn't he?
Yeah,
Just hopped on over.
I was confused, Globehopper, because I thought when you were talking about, I thought you said he brewed it for you. But
I
yeah.
know.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
We did
I
it
know.
together.
Well,
It's
hey,
a blurry line.
Most importantly, do we have a name for this brew? Have you given it any thought, Globehopper?
I don't know. I've been drinking a lot of it, and I still don't have a
I
name
know.
narrowed down. There is a
The more you drink of it, the harder it is to be decisive about it.
Yeah, for me, there is this wonderful ethereal quality to it. It is almost the in-between for me, because it sits between so many different places, and there's a mystery to it. And the more you drink of it, the more mysterious everything gets.
So shall we call it the Hopside Down?
That's a good one. Upside down, the neither nor.
Oh, I don't think Beer Wonder has watched. What? Say that again.
The neither nor.
The Neither Nor.
The
That's a
Neither
good one
Nor.
as well. Beer Wonder, have you ever watched the show Stranger Things?
I'm familiar with it, but I have not watched it.
Yes, there's a place they go to that's sort of weird, where everyone refers to as the Upside Down. So that's what.
The upside down.
So this strange beer, I thought would be the Hopside Down. Neither Nor. Both are good. Yeah.
Neither nor. Well, are any of these calling to you, Globehopper?
Again, I've been drinking way too much of this, so I'm also feeling this as well. So
Okay.
So we've
decisions are hard.
experienced. We've mentioned dark pale. We said semi pale.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond the pale.
The
Okay.
least pale?
Least pale? The most pale? No.
The most pale? No, that's the pale male, aka Hophead Huck's domain.
Yeah.
We can't take that from him.
No, we can't. We can't.
Well, knowing that, I say we put it to our listeners.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I think what I should do is we should put this up as a poll on our Instagram. Like, put a picture of this beer, all of us enjoying this beer. Let's hold up all our glasses in front of our faces one more time. Just I'm trying to hide the logo Rick doesn't like anymore. All right, so we'll put this picture up with this beer, and we will put it to a vote for the. We'll have a poll. You name the beer. We'll give you the choices, and you can also name an other if you want to name an other.
All right.
Yeah.
And then we'll bring it to the Globe Hopper to decide. So
I think that sounds fair. All right. Any other pertinent business that we need to discuss, or are we? Is that it?
I think we've done important beer venging today.
We definitely have. I feel this was very productive. I'm sorry we were away from our beer vengers out there for so long, and I promise we won't make you wait as long for the next one. And hi, Huck. I thought he was in Amsterdam, but all of a sudden he's here in the room with us, and I think he wants to play us out. I still have some more of this. I should probably share it with him. Thanks everyone for listening. Like and subscribe, all that, and tell us what you want to name the beer. And thank you again for coming back for your third appearance, Globe Hopper. We'll make sure to rub that in the nose of Nutpool the next time we see him.
Thank you.
Because we, say what you will about Nutpool. All right, thanks everyone. This has been great, and Huck, play us out.
With the beer vengers, beer vengers, beer vengers.
We're the beer vengers.